Welcome to this next short take by Clinically Press. This is one of our What We Are Reading, which we have not done for quite a long time. That is not because we have not been reading, but me personally have been going back to school and have been reading a lot of things that may or may not be overly interesting depending on who you are and what you're looking for. But in this last course, which was quantitative analysis, again, not something most people are just bursting at the seams to read. I did pick up a secondary book that I'd heard a lot about from Tim Ferriss, who's brought it up a couple times, and a few other people, and so I thought this would be the best time for me to dive into it. As it is based around statistics, I do recommend, which we'll have linked up, for anybody that wants to know statistics. And if you go back to our conversation with Greg Knuckles, who basically said to get better at statistics, read a statistics book. I did go through the statistics for people, parentheses, who think they hate statistics book by Neil Salkind, and it's actually proved to be pretty good, easy to digest. It gives you the good information. But again, that's not the one we're reviewing today. The one that we are talking about today is How to Lie with Statistics by Daryl Huff. Again, I had heard about this. It's a very short book, quick read, really digestible. You might have to go back a couple times, as I did, just to really understand what he was trying to say. It is a little dated in some of the examples, but all of the same things apply. But the classics examples really give you the idea of how easy things can be manipulated. And that's really what he was covering in this book, is that it is simple enough to just tweak and adjust things that seemingly would make sense, but when you really dig into it, are very, very misleading. And so one of the things he talks about is knowing exactly what the central measures of tendency or the averages that should be used and when. That's the mean, the median, and the mode. And each one has its own unique advantages and disadvantages. And that's one, if they're reporting one thing, it can totally skewer what the results are going to tell you and make you either feel better. This is very common in looking at wages and salaries. Taking the mean doesn't necessarily address the outliers as much. It brings in some of those outliers that make way more money than everybody and brings the average up, which may not be a direct reflection of what's going on, whereas the median could be something that would be more beneficial. So something to consider there. One that I thought was really interesting, and it's not something we always do, and it's more related to the news media, is, when you see something that says, it doubles your risk of whatever this thing may be. Well, what does that doubling truly mean? Is it going from 1 to 2 instances in sample or size of 10,000? Well, yeah, that's doubling your risk, but is that really as high as it's made to seem? Like, double is a lot in some contexts. And that was really kind of, again, just trying to not just take what they're saying at face value, but digging into what the actual numbers behind it say, and then kind of making your determination. Because doubling from 1 to 2 is very different than doubling from 1,000 to 2,000 in terms of exposures or anything that it might be. That really can mess with what the true meaning behind that number is. Another area that I thought was really interesting is when you're looking at figures and semi-attached figures, and this is another doubling example. When they do an image of something that's doubled in size, well, they try to make it twice as tall, but when you make something twice as tall in a picture, and they use a cow as an example in this, you're actually making it doubly as wide too. So really it's like 4 times as big, and gives a very skewed look at what truly is going on, which can kind of confuse and mess with the person reading that information. Also, when they go and they adjust the figure to show more what they want, if you chop down a figure to only show the certain area you're looking for, that can easily throw off how steep or the different angles of the graph to either make it look less severe or more severe depending on what the reporter or the person that is putting that in front of you might be going for. So that's something as well to take into consideration when we're looking at things like that. And then this is one, just covered this actually in the statistics class, and it makes a whole lot of sense, is you have to do a post hoc analysis when you're really trying to figure out the explanations for things. When you're looking at things for significance but not trying to figure out what things contribute to that in-depthly, that isn't fair to the reporting or to the reader. Because if you're just saying or picking something that you think suits your agreement and not, or your argument, and not truly looking at all the different things that play into that and what their effect is on it, you're really doing a disservice in terms of what that is really going to say when people are looking at it and trying to interpret that data. So again, very short book, very easy read. I honestly think it was like $6 on Amazon. We'll have a link to it in case you want to check it out. But that is How to Lie with Statistics by Daryl Huff. I would be really curious if somebody would put in just a little bit more of an updated version of this out, or if we really tied it into the health and wellness world and just all the different claims, superfoods, pills that can supposedly make you better instantly, all the different things that are out there, and just to help people understand that you can mess with the stats to get something to say what it's saying, right, wrong, or otherwise, but to make it appear one way more than it needs to or should be, and ultimately confusing people in an effort to potentially sell something or whatever their motives may be. So again, this is what we were reading. We're going to continue reading. We actually have a really long list of things we want to get to you guys, so that'll come out over the course of the next weeks and months, just with some good recommendations. If you have any questions on it or have read it and have some other interpretations, please comment or otherwise. And as always, please leave a rating and review. We are desperately trying to get rid of these mobility kits. We've got a bunch of them. Leave a review. Leave some way that we can shout you out to have you connect up with us. And then we will send that to you free of cost. It doesn't cost you anything. So with that, have a great rest of your week, and we'll talk to you guys later.